it is the easiest fucking thing to be negative. It's easy. It's almost like it's a weird thing. I feel like us humans, it's so easy to fall into that default. And the reason I'm saying this is not because I feel like I'm above you or I'm above people, but because I was so good at that before. I was the queen of thinking something negative, feeling a negative emotion, and then following that negative emotion. I was so good at it that it led me into depression, you know? So I'm not saying this because I've never done it. I've been there, and now that I have a wider perspective, I see, okay, when I rolled around in the mud and when I was negative and when I talked negative things, when I allowed that to happen, I felt like shit. And most importantly, nothing changed. Nothing positive came out of me being negative.
What's up, everyone? You are listening to Wake Up Naked. I am your host, Esme Leon. We're going in deep into ourselves. We're going to be talking about ideas and concepts and things that have the potential to actually change our lives. So get excited, get ready, and what are you waiting for? Come over here and get naked with me.
This message is about being really aware of the words that are coming out of our mouth. That when you're talking to someone on the phone, when you're reaching out to your friends, your grandma, your mom, your clients, that you really keep in mind that you can be the anchor for hope and you can be the anchor of faith and the best case scenario. Because coronavirus aside, think about just different subjects in life. When you speak the worst case scenario, one, you feel like shit. There's no way, this is 100%. There is no way that you can tell me the worst case scenario of what could happen and that you feel good while you're telling me that. There's no way. So it takes as much effort to imagine the worst case scenario and to talk about the worst case scenario as it does the best case scenario. Now, both of those are imagined. Isn't that shit crazy? That I had a friend send me these videos that suck and that are real. They're horrific. People had broken into a liquor store. They had stolen everything. And you know what? I honor that in the sense that, yeah, that's real. The panic is real. The fear is real. But you know what was happening in my life at that moment in time? When he sent that to me, at that moment in time, I was walking, looking at these beautiful palm trees. The sun was hitting my skin and it was warm. Now, both of those moments are real. Does that make sense? So for me, it's just like, okay, Esme, what do you want to focus on right now? Your friend just sent you something that is awful, that sucks, that's scary for the person that owned the liquor store, scary for the people that felt that they had to do that they're so desperate, they're in such fear that they felt they had to go in and rob someone, scary for the neighborhood because they're walking by and being like, holy shit, someone broke into this, like what time, this is scary. Or was I going to focus on the moment that was actually in front of me? So in this episode, I want to challenge you that as the rest of the world and everyone, it is the easiest fucking thing to be negative. It's easy. It's almost like it's a weird thing. I feel like us humans, it's so easy to fall into that default. And the reason I'm saying this is not because I feel like I'm above you or I'm above people, but because I was so good at that before. I was the queen of thinking something negative, feeling a negative emotion, and then following that negative emotion. I was so good at it that it led me into depression, you know? So I'm not saying this because I've never done it. I've been there, and now that I have a wider perspective, I see, okay, when I rolled around in the mud and when I was negative and when I talked negative things, when I allowed that to happen, I felt like shit. And most importantly, nothing changed. Nothing positive came out of me being negative. In the same way, guys, I want us to really think about that and choose something higher, because I think that's where solutions can start to come through. You already know what happens when you think of the worst case scenario. And again, that's the easy road. The higher road, and the one that takes more strength, is to anchor into love, anchor into the best case scenario. I look around, I talk, and I hear a lot of people talking about the worst case scenario. I let them talk because I feel like it's their right. If you want to live in a nightmare right now, it is your right to live in a nightmare. I'm not going to, and I challenge you to join me. Don't live in the nightmare. We look at the facts. We do not watch the news 24/7. Don't be a fucking idiot. Don't be a zombie. Like, doesn't that just make sense? If you watch the news 24/7, they thrive on our fear. They thrive on drama because we're tuned in. We're like sheep. Oh my God. And we want to know more. Don't do that. I'm not saying live in a hole. I'm saying get the information, get what you need to know, tune into what you need to know for the news for a little bit, and then get out of there. This is our chance to be strong and to tap into that warrior inside of us. It is the easiest thing to be negative, and it is the easiest thing to move into the worst case scenario. Team, this podcast episode is about challenging you and challenging myself to fucking rise. We're going to imagine the best case scenario. We're going to look for solutions and allow solutions instead of sitting in our homes scared and just being handicapped. That's not going to help you now, and it's not going to help your future. Even if it's true that your business shut down, even if it's true that you've been fired, sitting and thinking of the worst case scenario isn't going to help you. We must rise. We must rise together. Reach out to someone, make a phone call. And if you're really feeling awful, think about how other people might be feeling. Reach out to them. Pick up your phone right now and call someone and say, hey, how are you doing? And the very fact that you're caring about someone else other than yourself is going to bring you up just a little bit. All right. So team, rise high. It's easy to think of the worst case scenario. I'm challenging you to think, what is the best case scenario? If shit fell apart, what is the best case scenario for you to rebuild something new, something different, and maybe even something better?
Hey, thank you so much for tuning in. I hope that you got as much out of that as I did. If you have not hit the subscribe button, make sure to go back and hit subscribe and keep coming back. Team, we're going to the top, and I will see you there. I'm out.